Welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. I need to get some cabbages out of this garden. Okay, so if you follow my channel at all, you know I've been growing cabbages all winter long. And I've harvested some Chinese cabbages and made some really good kimchi. And I've harvested some heading cabbage and eaten off of that a little bit. I need to get some of this cabbage out of here because it's starting to get too big. And if a cabbage gets too big, it can split, and it doesn't taste as well if it's old. I need to get these out. I'm not going to be able to use them for a little while, so I'm going to store them. I'm going to store them in the refrigerator. They'll last a good long while in there, but I need to get them out of the garden now and stop their growth so they don't split. Look at this big cabbage. I'm only going to use this head right here, so I'll cut it off right there. When harvesting a cabbage, you could just come in here and cut the head off down in here, but I'm pulling them out. If you give it a good twist, just like that, you can pull them right out with minimal root loss. And if you're practicing no-till gardening, you want all those roots down in there to compost in place. So I'll just cut that little root stem off so I don't drag a bunch of dirt in with me. And I'll leave that in here, or I'll go compost it, and there we go. Now we can take this cabbage out of the garden and go clean it up without dragging a bunch of dirt around. Once you got the thing where you can clean it up, you can see that there are cabbage culprits, like that snail. Most of this damage in here is snail damage and slug damage. All these little holes, that's from mollusks. They love cabbage. So here I am at the compost pile. I'll just go in here and break off all the leaves that I'm not going to keep. And you'll find that a lot of the times that's where your bugs and your dirt and your grunge are building up. And so that goes directly into the compost. Nothing wasted. And then there's a little, this stem. I'll cut that off into the compost, and there we go. There is our head of cabbage. That's a nice one, huh? That's a real nice head of cabbage. If you want, you can tidy up the looks of it, but I mean, you're going to core it anyway when you cook, so this is just for presentation purposes. Yeah, there we go. Hefty. I've been watching these things grow since the end of October, and it is almost March. This is a slow grower, but I've really enjoyed the whole process, actually, of watching them grow, of raising them up from seed, and enjoying them as food. This is a nice hefty head of cabbage, and you know, I'm going to look forward to growing cabbage in the fall again. Fall cabbage. I've never had any pests with these. I've not had anything but your typical mollusks like snails and stuff, but they generally stay at the lower leaves and the outside of the cabbage and don't give you any trouble. When I cut this open, this, I expect, will be a very clean and a very pest-free piece of food. That's nice. Go. Easy as that. Yeah, I got to bring in my purple cabbages too. I'm going to need this bed soon. There we go. These were some of the most beautiful plants in my garden in the fall. And I'm really feeling blessed that I got to grow such a beautiful thing as that. I mean, look at that. That's wonderful. Such a stunning color. So there's our harvest of the purple cabbages that are remaining. I harvested 4 of them throughout the earlier part of the fall, and these are the last 2. They're smaller than your big heading cabbages, but yeah, they're so stunning. Let me get these outer leaves off and I'll show you. So you just kind of take these loose ones on the outside and break them down. That's a little guy right there, huh? But when you get down inside this cabbage, you see why they're so worth growing. Look how purple and beautiful that is. That is good stuff. And finally get at some of these weeds that have been elusive for a while. Stirrup hoe them down. Most of this is just a fall chickweed, and you can leave that behind in your garden. It makes a good green mulch or green manure. But I've got some wood sorrel, which looks like a shamrock, and they're a little more persistent, and I like to pull those guys out and put them in the compost. And any weed you see with a seed head on it, you need to take that out. If you don't have an oscillating hoe or a stirrup hoe, they're really helpful to just go right under the surface and cut the weeds off from their roots. Some of these weeds obviously will grow back from their root. But most weeds, you cut them down a couple of times and take their tops off, and they're not coming back. Now I can come in flame weed here because my spring weeds will be starting to want to pop up now. And I don't want them to. It's looking kind of bare, huh? Looks like a good place for tomatoes and peppers and squash and beans. Next steps are going to be to amend this soil with compost. And I need to think about remineralization. What gives our food nutrition is minerals. I've been reading about azomite, mineralization, and all kinds of interesting science about minerals. And yeah, it's good stuff. It's a little bit daunting. I'm wading through Steve Solomon's book, The Intelligent Gardener, How to Grow Nutrient-Dense Food. And he makes the case that our food, even the best organic food you buy at the most expensive prices, is only about 1/10 as nutritious as that food could be. And the key to nutrition is all of these elements, these minerals that we find in our soil that get so quickly depleted. And that's why so much of our ground in this nation is depleted. We don't remineralize. And our practices of organic gardening in the old Rodale way that we all believe are very good, he's calling those practices into question. And some of them are some very good points he makes. Obviously, you can grow tons of food in the Rodale way. The issue is it nutrient dense? He makes the case that it's not so nutrient dense and shows you how to remineralize your soil. So I've been studying that and might have more for you about that topic. For now, I'm going to use azomite in my soil because I've not remineralized this garden ever, except for those minerals that go in from my compost, which are minimal in terms of their intensity or their availability to the plants. So this garden will be remineralized. I'll put a sheet of compost over the top and we'll plant right into that, our spring garden. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot this year. I've been challenged on some ways of thinking, and all you guys in your comments have really helped me as well. So yeah, spring 2020 coming up, and I think it's going to be a very good year. This was a great garden. Those cabbages, man, I love growing cabbages. I'll be growing cabbages every single year that I can. So yeah, it's coming. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining us today on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Like us on Facebook, on Instagram, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. So we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.